Damn, Angelina, it's so big.
I bet people will talk about this 100 years from now. Oh my God!
It's working!
I love Angelyne's voice because she speaks slightly differently depending upon the situation that she's in. I always start from a vocal place because I started as a singer. So first I just started, I just closed my eyes and listened to hours of her speaking in different situations. I found that the most helpful tool was her meditation tapes, which I found on eBay because she didn't sell them through her own website anymore. And I would just listen to them in bubble baths. I would listen to them walking around the reservoir in New York City and just slowly finding it. I also worked with a singing teacher and vocal coach to find some of the really high shadow tones in her special ooze. And then after a certain point, I decided to kind of embrace my version of the character and commit to that and use my imagination. I think Angelyne describes herself best. She's a Rorschach test or a mirror. So whatever we see in her is what we see, says more about us than about her. What I think is so fascinating about her is how she could be so known and yet so unknown. Angelyne is like a living, breathing piece of art. She has committed her life to that, and she is the ultimate fantasy, right? She is a wild storyteller. She has an incredible imagination, and I think what's so interesting about her is she knows that all of these rumors and stories that often contradict each other exist about her, and yet she doesn't want to dispel those rumors because she knows that they go to fuel the mystique and the enigma, and that is much sexier and more fascinating than just one set of historical facts. I'm not trying to define who Angelyne is. Instead, I was so interested by playing all the different possibilities for why she became Angelyne, and investigating all of those stories side by side. She is such an unconventional woman that I think we tried to take the same unconventional approach with storytelling. So we have hyper-realism, reconstructed archive footage, where we've literally stripped me in with the actual Wally George, and then we have pure fantasy. And both of those stories living alongside each other feel equally authentic to me about the woman as I perceive the icon of Angelyne. I talked a lot with Rami Malek before I did this, and before I got the prosthetics on, I had fully, learned the voice and the walk and all the different modalities of her, because I'm aging in both different directions. And I said, well, will it be like when you get all the prosthetics on? And he said, just do the work and the rest will just happen. And I didn't really know what he meant until they completed the transformation on me for the first time and turned me around, and I didn't recognize myself. And I found this utter liberation and ability to go into my own imagination and fantasy, and I found it really, really remarkable. In fact, sometimes at the end of the day when they would take it off, I would be like, oh, that's what I look like? So it was really, really fun. No, not yet. I don't think she's seen it, but I can't wait to see it. And she's making a documentary too, which I'm psyched to see. I think for me, what I learned most from playing her was this intense commitment to the positive and to be able to find magic in mundane moments. And I think for me, there's something so kind of whimsical and fantastical about her. And so I think I learned a lot from playing her, but I think it's very similar to the power that she had on me when I was 13, this idea that you could be fully in control of your hyper femininity, fully in control, in the driver's seat, right? And I think for me that she must have sprinkled a little bit of her magic on me, because this role is really an absolute dream come true, right? For any actor to get to do this kind of project, an absolute dream project, and have it actually come out is really remarkable. So I think she must have sprinkled a little bit of that positivity and that magic on me. What I think is so interesting about her is how she knows that people will underestimate her power and her smarts because of how she presents physically. And I think you're right, she does use that to her advantage.
Angeline?
Angeline.
Angeline?
Angeline.
Angeline.
The billboard queen.
Yes.
I mean, it might be to do with several things, but it might be to do with a sort of immortality, I think. That you, something about you, I mean, obviously, if you have children, that's also sort of true. Something from you passes on after you've gone, perhaps. It might be that. And that's quite rare, that doesn't happen to that many people, I guess. And so I suppose striving for that, I see some sort of link or logic to that.
There's also an element of reinvention. When you're famous, I think, or when people think they become famous, they can kind of just put certain aspects of their personality to the forefront, and that will kind of be their new persona. So I think there's an element of sort of re-identification or sort of a reawakening, and sort of all the promise that comes with that. I think is attractive to people.
I guess there's the idea that you're this enigma or this unicorn in the room, or you have something that is mysterious and magical, but it's not the case.
I guess if it makes her an anti-hero, you'd have to lump Madonna, Marilyn Monroe, Jane Russell. You'd have to lump so many women in with that as being an anti-hero, because I guess you deal, or you play with the cards you're dealt, I suppose. And to be that famous, Jesus. And not that, and not that Angeline is Marilyn Monroe famous, but I mean, if that's what you're going for, it's highly unlikely you're going to do that completely on your own terms, or without any of those attendant isms that are floating around anyway. You're not likely to do that with short hair and Dr. Martens on. And you certainly weren't 50 years ago or 25 years ago. It's just, I don't know whether she's a hero or an anti-hero, but a realist maybe. I don't know.
It wasn't weird. It was fun to sort of approach. There's a certain type of sort of interrogative techniques that journalists use that I just never really thought about. I've never played a journalist before. The way that they try to get close with you and sort of lower your defenses to get what they need was very interesting to me. And that certainly was something that my character did. He spent days and days and days with her. You're asking questions that won't get into the story. They're just sort of indirect ways to try to get these people comfortable and get them in their comfort zone, get them talking, get them to trust you. So that sort of indirect type of journalism or indirect type of questioning was something that I never really thought too much about. And it's a big part of my character's experience with Angeline. So that was very illuminating to me.
No, I don't think you're fair game per se. I think as soon as you become famous for whatever it might be, whether it's a footballer or a politician or an actor or whatever, I don't think that necessarily means you've signed up for all of it. I do think, to be honest, depending on how you've conducted yourself and how you behave in your daily modus operandi, I think there is more of an argument that you're fair game, depending on what you do. I mean, if it's the whole thing that, all three of us are in an industry where if we choose to go to the opening of an envelope and get photographed fighting and drinking in every bar and club every night, then guess what? People are going to invade your privacy. And, I think you have got a bit more of an argument to say you're fair game in those situations. But no, I don't think because you are known that you then deserve to have your trash going through or whatever. With Angelina, I'm not really sure how I feel about that, because she's genuinely put herself out there on a certain level. So she obviously just wants to be famous for no other reason than being herself, and fair enough, you know. So does that mean, I don't know if that means that because it's not really in the public interest, is it? To be fair, it's not a burning issue that the people need to know who her family is. So obviously I can understand her wanting to keep this, you know, like Alex talked about it earlier, and it's that facade of the things that you want to keep to prominence, you want to keep those there. And you don't want to advertise the bits that you don't want to advertise. But yes, I don't know really whether she's fair game, to be honest with that. I mean, I suppose I would err on the side of not deliberately making her life worse. I don't know.
I mean, I guess when she was running for the governor or the mayor, and that is a little bit of fair game. But I think, you know, diving into her past and things about her trauma or things that she changed the narrative to not have to deal with, you know, certain things that were hard for her that we don't necessarily need to keep digging up. And there are certain things that she does not like talking about, and we should respect that. But other things, I don't know. I feel like a little on the fence of it, like Martin does as well. But respect her. Yeah, she hasn't got a finger on the nuclear code. Do you know what I mean? It's not like we need to know this stuff. We need to know it, and you're presenting this lie. It's like, yeah, of course she is presenting a version of a lie, of course, you know. But in a way, you know, it's not killing anyone, you know.
I'm whatever you want me to be. But I do not want to be famous for something that I do. I want to be famous for who I am. I'm Angeline.
We've been calling it talking heads, so we have a talking head style. You know, the material really kind of asked for it. I think it's what's great about the show, and as a writer, when I approached it, Angeline is unconventional, and it called for an unconventional method of storytelling. And growing up on movies like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and Being John Malkovich, it was just such an amazing opportunity to do kind of the things I always wanted to do, like dance numbers and flying cars and you know, scenes breaking down as they're told, and scenes told in the show for just the characters in the show, which was really super fun for me. And the other idea I think that led to the talking heads is this idea of truth and knowing someone's truth. And I think that when we gave the characters the ability to contradict each other, both in the way it's edited and in what they're saying to each other and kind of informing each other, it really gave us the opportunity to say what we wanted to say, which is, we don't know who she is. Only she can say who she is. Only someone can't tell us who we are. But people are going to try. And I think that there's conflict inherent in there that's funny and interesting and challenging. I don't know. I mean, I can't speak for her. I mean, who knows? I mean, I think that she presents herself in a way and lets us kind of decide what her intentions are, which is interesting, right? Because I think it says more about us and what we value than it does about her. Like, we all bring kind of our own thing to it. I mean, when I look at her, I see a feminist badass, because she created this industry of herself. She created a logo of a pink Corvette that is identifiable to everyone. I mean, my friends still text me asking if Angeline got a pink Jeep. And I'm like, no, she didn't get a pink Jeep. She drives a Corvette. But like, the idea that this color is hers, and like the idea of putting that color on a vehicle is hers. And the fact that she's that great of a businesswoman, that she could create this industry for herself, give herself this career, is really impressive to me. Yeah, I do. I think that, I came here from the Midwest. I live in Los Angeles part of the time. I split my time between Los Angeles and Austin, Texas. But when I came here in '99 for grad school, there's this interesting thing that happens where you're unpacking Los Angeles, right? It's such a important city to us culturally as a country, right? People have ideas about what it is, what you can do there, what it means to our culture in negative and positive ways. And I think that Angelyne's kind of the quintessential LA celebrity because you have to come here to see her. And she's kind of created this idea that she's like baked into Los Angeles culture, right? She's become a shorthand. When I would watch like Simpsons and Futurama in the 90s, to show that they were in Los Angeles, there would be an Angelyne billboard in the background. And it was almost like lazy storytelling. I would never disparage the Simpsons because they're geniuses, but like, you know, it became a shorthand where it's like, well, we're just gonna, we know we're in Los Angeles. And so I think people know on some level will recognize that they knew about her maybe before they knew about her. Mm-hmm. And they certainly understand the move, right? These days with Kim Kardashian and Paris Hilton kind of paving the way for these kind of celebrities. I mean, I think it's going to feel familiar to them, whether they know about her specifically or not. Well, I think we wanted to be true to kind of the value and the pitfalls of fame and how, and just thinking more about her as a character and kind of where the character could go. I think fame is complicated. I think with fame comes interest, and with interest, it's really hard to protect what's private to you. And this idea that there should be a private self or could be a private self is almost becoming like not acceptable. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's what the article kind of brought up for me. It's like, well, why can't she be exactly who she says she wants to be? You know, why not? Why can't she celebrate her body? I met her at Denny's, the exact Denny's that's in the show. I actually have this out because I brought it up when I was talking to someone else. She gave me this rose quartz for luck, and I've kept it with me every single day since she gave it to me, so it's kind of funny. But yeah, it was hugely important to us that we got her consent to make the show. And when we got that, it was such a huge relief. I mean, it didn't lessen the burden of telling somebody who's still present, but it did help.